Alright, I've tried this a few times now with the video forecast. Can't seem to get it under 9 minutes, but let me give it another go. Don't quite have time for a full blog update tonight, just the way that school shook out this afternoon. But I did want to get an update out there for those curious as to the storm arriving tonight and tomorrow. Let's take a look. You need 3 things for a storm. You need moisture, you need cold air, and you need energy. And I'll be taking a look at each of those variables, and at the end I'll have my snowfall forecast. Here we go with the moisture. We have a lot of it. Just watch it, come streaming north, straight from the Gulf of Mexico. Can't ask for a better moisture source than this. Streaming north, there's a lot of it. Remember, this is all yesterday's rain. We got that same moisture connection, so it's a solid moisture connection. That's the takeaway from this. So we got the moisture, lots of it. Look at that, an impressive moisture connection. Alright, now for the next element, the cold air. Not quite as spectacular. Well, I'll point out the freezing line here. This is the approximate freezing line, about 6 o'clock this evening. Not really where you'd want it to be. Alright, we still have the warm air lingering from yesterday. But as the sun's down, we have the front offshore. Right, here's our storm, but the front is offshore, so the cold air is filtering south and east. Combine that with heavy precip, that does do a fairly good job of cooling things off. I think we do have just enough cold air to get things going, although I don't see a ton of accumulation on the roadways, especially in coastal areas. I think it's just too warm. Although if it does come down heavy enough, watch out. There's likely to be some slippery spots, especially because the coast is most at risk for the heavy snow. Alright, so we got enough cold air, we got a ton of moisture. Now let's take a look at the energy. There's a lot of it. A lot of it. We have 2 ways of measuring energy. We have vorticity, it's a measure of spin, a couple other factors. Vorticity, that's the shaded colors. Look at that, there's quite a lot of that. And then also wind, it's kinetic energy. It's the same thing if if the wind is pushing you over on a windy day, it's that energy exerted on you. So wind does pack a punch, and this wind is exceptionally busy. We have these are little wind barbs. Each triangle is 50 knots worth of wind. Each long stick is 10 knots, and each short stick is 5 knots. So let's count them up. Here's 115 knot winds. Here's 110 knot winds. Here 95 knot winds. Here and here and here. That's a lot of wind. This is 20,000 feet up, but that's still, to give you an idea, Category 2 hurricane. Again, 20,000 feet up. Those winds do not get to the surface. I repeat, they do not get to the surface. But the point is we have a lot of energy to work with, a lot of energy to convert all that moisture into precipitation, which will fall into a cool enough atmosphere for snow. Let's take it a step forward. This is 1 o'clock on Friday. Now let's move ahead to 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, and you can see what I mean with all this energy. If I scoot the frame over just a little bit, you can see we're at the top of the scale. This dark gray and this dark gray. And this energy basically gives you points. It acts like a finger. It points to where the heavy snow is going to be. And look at where that is. That's right along coastal areas. And now this shifts. We happen to have frozen at a time where this looks like southern coastal Maine is going to be getting the most snow, and also you look underneath the energy, so coastal Mass. But this will shift. Start here and then it'll shift through, eventually, moving eastward. But that's the takeaway from this guy. Lots of energy. Now let's go take a quick run through how things evolve at the surface. Here we go. We're looking at timing here. This is 1 o'clock on tomorrow. 1 o'clock tomorrow morning. You see moderate to heavy snow is still well to our south. We have light to moderate snow mixing with rain along the coast, starting to move into the area. Nothing big. Looks like the first flakes and drops arrive somewhere in the 3 to 6 o'clock hour range. Let's move it forward. This is 7 o'clock, right in the heart of the morning commute. Most areas seeing light to moderate snow. It's the area I've highlighted there. But you're starting to see some moderate to heavy bands start to move into the area. Again, the heavy stuff stays offshore and to the south. But you don't need the heaviest of the heavy to cause a few issues. Again, due to the marginal at best boundary layer that's right at the surface temperatures, I don't think roads will be a complete disaster tomorrow morning, but do look for a few slick spots and take it extra slow traveling to work or school. Next, we'll step it forward a little bit. Here is 1 o'clock on Friday, and boy, is this fun. Heavy bands offshore, and the heaviest bands do look to remain offshore. This isn't a crazy thump. This is not any of those 2 to 3 inch an hour rates we saw for most of last winter. But 1 inch an hour does look like a solid bet, at least for the coast. Notice, moderate to heavy bands along the coast, extending to both our south and north, with light to moderate snow extending back towards the Canadian border. It's not a storm for the mountains, unfortunately, but the ski areas could get a good solid 1 to 3, which I guess is better than nothing after this week. This looks to be the peak of the storm. It looks it's departing and all gone by, this is 10 o'clock on tomorrow evening. All gone, northwest winds bringing in colder air, and that sets up our next storm. Yeah, there's another storm. Remember, this is winter in Maine, and we have run our bank accounts dry. We've spent all our credit in the mellow winter department, so have to earn a little bit of it back. In any case, that's a topic for another day. Looking at snowfall amounts, I don't think the Canadian border quite gets an inch, but I think this is probably going to be the 1 inch line. Excuse my poor drawings with my mouse today. 3 inches, I think that's most of the coastal plain, southern foothills, areas like that. That looks about right to me. And then the 6 inch plus line, I think, is mainly mid-coast to down east. That could creep back towards Portland. It could, if things continue the way they have today and pushing a little farther west than anticipated. But that's my thinking. Again, this is the 6 inch line. Again, watch. I'd say this is pretty solid lock for 6 inches plus. But watch this area. It definitely, and again, this is also a lock 6 inches plus, southern New England. But it's this in-between zone where I could see anywhere from 3 inches if things don't quite work out right to as much as 6 inches or a little more if things do work out right. All right, I'll see what I can do for a more formal write-up and snowfall map. I'll post those on Twitter. You can follow me at JackSillen. Alright, have a nice night, everyone. I'll be back in the morning with more updates on the blog and on Twitter.